with the meaning of it takes a village. It takes a village. I lost my tech guy for this morning. He had, plans. He went and had some fun. So we've got Jaren over here letting people into the Zoom room. We've got Taylor, who's moving our camera back and forth so that the people watching a stream, right? Nick is doubling as our sound guy. He's a sound guy. Kevin, he's the funnest one of all. Kevin does our projector stuff, right? This morning he says, so, you want to double check this real quick? And I'm looking at it. I'm like, hi, honey. Well, I sent you all the music for next week. So he got it all on, he did. He just changed it all. Dave runs our video camera, so we have something to load on YouTube. It takes a village. It takes a village. So is there anybody else here who does a secret odd job that I didn't even mention? Because it's probably so secret. Ellen?
Attendance.
Attendance. Ellen keeps attendance, of who shows up on the live stream and stuff. So
I vacuum.
Yes, yes. All right, well, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, and welcome to our 2021 edition, almost, of Grace and Grit. That's our theme this year, the Grace and Grit theme. I chose that because of the level of uncertainty that we have been facing collectively, right? I know many of you have probably faced a level of uncertainty before, but this is the biggest level of uncertainty we've ever faced collectively, I think, probably since one of the world wars. All right, so when we are faced with uncertainty, something happens. It calls forth that within us that needs to be healed. It calls forth our shadow. Now, our shadow is not a scary thing. It's not a bad thing. It's not evil. It is a misunderstood thing. The shadow is the place where all the pain from our past or the pain that we experience currently, we don't know what to do with that pain. We don't know how to cope with it. So it gets tucked away into a little place deep inside of us. And it ends up being the place where we struggle and suffer the most when we don't know how to work with our shadow. We will stay stuck in our shadow when we don't understand we are actually in our shadow. We may just think that's how life is. Life is just hard and painful. We also won't know that there is a grace that we could call forth through us that would heal us, that would fill us with light. And so grace is the givingness of spirit. It is whatever we need in this moment. It defines itself by need or task. So grace can show up in our lives like answered prayer, the miracles that we experience, receiving that inspiring idea right when we needed it. It's the movement of God in our lives in unexpected ways. The healing power of grace is what we use so we can address what needs healing. The healing power of grace moves us into the laboratory of our soul, where we have everything we need to heal in the shadow. But when we're faced with this much uncertainty, with this much fear, I don't know, not everybody's experiencing fear, but some people are experiencing fear. And to experience fear in the face of a brand new challenge that's not the big deal. Feeling fear about something new going on, that's not a big deal at all. Because from there, we can feel the fear and do it anyway, right? You've heard that saying. It's the reason courage is courage is because we've been in fear and decided to do this next thing anyway. That's why courage exists at all, right? We come to courage through fear. Now, when we choose courage, we're walking in faith and we do the inner work. When we choose courage, we go in here to do that work. Now, any work we do in here, it projects itself onto our environment. So we do the inner work, and then out here is where things change. Just like if you were looking at a mirror, and your hair was a little out of place on the mirror, you wouldn't go like this to the mirror and try to fix your hair, right? You go here, it's like to your own hair, and then automatically everything in that projection of you, it changes. Now, if we are If we choose from fear, and if we're in fear, and we make our choice from fear, we stay stuck in the fear. We stay stuck in the conditions. And we keep thinking, well, this has to change first, and then I can stop being afraid. This thing over here, it has to change, and I can stop being afraid. All of our choices will revolve around avoiding more pain. But see, when we step into courage, what happens is we're becoming the person who moves through all the uncertainty. But when we stay stuck in our fear and we make our choices from fear, we actually stay stuck in the uncertainty. Okay, so our choices will just keep us trying to avoid any pain or suffering. In fear, when we ask for something, whether you're just talking to the universe or you're asking in prayer, what you ask for will come from fear, and that prayer will sound like, protect me, save me, oh, why did God let all this happen? That's one I have heard a lot. And I heard it actually more around the election than I heard it around pandemic. Why did God let these people run? And why, you know? So, but you know what? When we ask those kinds of questions, we just kind of stay stuck in the pain. We don't grow. We don't get the solutions from those questions. Grace is what moves us into the power of our soul. When we call forth grace, we ask for bigger. We ask for bigger. Our prayers might look like, God, show me what to do with all this light that I am, right? The power that created worlds and put the galaxies into their spin is at work through me, for me, as me. So I'm ready for those ideas and inspirations. I'm ready for the courage to act on ideas and inspirations because I don't like stepping out of my comfort zone, and I know that about myself. So please, God, give me the courage, right? So we get, this is my favorite prayer. Dear God, let me be an example of the good that you can do. Let me be an example of the good that you can do. Because people see that I can manage something. I swear, if I can manage something, any of y'all can manage it. How can I best serve in a way that is holy, that is kind, that is merciful and understanding? What is the best thing I can do in this moment? What is the thing I could do that would move me into that next brightest version of myself? So grace fills us with light, and we become a Jedi in this game of life that we are playing. And remember, it is a game. Life is not a battlefield. Thank you, Florence Scovel-Shannon. Life is a game. Life is a game. So last week I spoke on the shadow and the grace of the first chakra, the tribal chakra. The shadow is the shadow of hubris, which is arrogance or defiance or superiority. And these are really just our hidden fears of being found out. Being found out. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not tall enough. Right? I'm an imposter. Like if those folks knew about me, like they'd be like, why is she up there? No, I don't ask myself that too much anymore. Right? But whatever fear, right? If they found out that I wasn't enough of this, you fill in the blank, that comes from that shadow. And then when we are in that shadow, we make our choices based on the fear of being embarrassed, humiliated, or shamed. Now, when we're afraid of being embarrassed, humiliated, or shamed, the next action that comes out of our activity will needing to be right, show everybody how perfect we are, right? We've got our life all together because, if somebody knew I didn't have my life together, if somebody knew what my desk at home really looks like, then they would know that I'm not all perfect, okay? It's from this shadow that we live in the pain of worrying what other people might think about us. So that's the shadow of hubris. The grace that heals that shadow is reverence. Reverence is what allows us to see all of life as holy, but especially to see our life as holy. When we see our life as holy, the natural next expression is to see all of life as holy too. Our life is holy no matter what has been going on in our life. No matter if we tell everybody we're gluten-free, but then we sneak a biscuit because those buttermilk biscuits are so good, right? But our life is still holy. Our life is still holy no matter what we have accomplished, no matter what we haven't accomplished, no matter what we said we do and we haven't got there yet, right? Our lives are still always holy. This is the grace that allows us to see life as a holy package. Okay, the holy package. So today, I'm going to be talking about the shadow and grace of the second chakra, which is the Sacral Chakra. Hence, all the orange honoring that chakra today. Now, from that chakra, the Sacral Chakra, this is where we have relationships with how we do life. Relationships with other people, with our career, how we show up in the world. It's how we express ourselves. It's also our relationship with money, how we show up in doing normal day-to-day activities, like how did we show up getting in a car, driving down here today, right? Today, I was singing in my car. I was so excited to come down here. Now, when we're empowered through this chakra, when we feel empowered, we trust ourselves, we trust what works through us, we are living our truth, we give our very best, we always do our best, we don't make assumptions, right? We don't take things personally. That's where we are in this chakra. And we honor our gifts. We honor our gifts, the gifts that we bring, and we actually put those gifts out there to the world, right? Have you ever had the experience of knowing you have this gift, but it's like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready to share that gift yet, because first chakra shadow, what if people think I'm weird? What if people think I'm not really good enough to be doing this, right? In this chakra, the second chakra, this is where we become empowered and we actually put those gifts out into the world. Also, we're not afraid to honor the gifts that other people bring. So we honor their gifts and don't worry about their gifts taking away from our gifts. In this chakra, in this empowerment, we maintain our personal boundaries. We are assertive, not aggressive. We're assertive. We say yes when we mean yes. We say no when we mean no. So people always know what our boundaries are. Nobody has to guess. This is actually what gives us the freedom to be our authentic self. Right? It's hard to be authentic when we're trying to guess what other people are wondering about us or thinking about us. Should I say yes and help them move even though I don't really want to? That's not authenticity. That's not our authenticity. That's not our authenticity. When we are in the shadow of this chakra, we are so deeply disempowered that our life is going to become about manipulating everything out here so we can be happy, so we can feel safe, right? So we can reduce our anxiety, reduce our worry. We're going to keep manipulating what's out there. We don't go here first because we don't trust what's here. So we go out here to try to maneuver things. When we do the work in here first, that's when we anchor everything out here. So it stays. It's changed. When we try to maneuver everything out here, we get up the next morning and we got to play it again. We got to maneuver everything again every day. Right? Every day we have to get up and maneuver things again. So the shadow of the second chakra is greed, also known as avarice, which is an extreme need for more of something. This shadow of never having enough is the shadow that is haunted by addiction. It is an addiction defined, I'll say how Carolyn Mace defines it. It's when we we look to something outside of ourselves to help us cope. We don't turn in here. We turn out there to, the typical stuff everybody knows. But we look to that to help us cope with our pain in our life. That pain that we don't know what to do with. So we look to help that. In this shadow, we also feel a void. It's an empty space that cannot be filled. So again, this turns our focus to things outside of us. We're looking out here. What can I get to fill the void? What can I get? What do I have to do to fill the void? What is it I need to acquire or become to fill that void? Right? How can I get more attention? How can I get more love? Right? How can I get more stuff so I can be happy, so I can calm my anxiety for a little while, so I can feel safe in the world, just for a few minutes? What is it out here that I can get to distract me from the pain that I'm feeling? Now, the obvious stuff we know about this: drugs, alcohol, food, gambling. I feel like I'm pretty familiar with the landscape of this shadow. Yeah. I guess I'm familiar with all of them. But, there's stuff. There's our stuff. And it can be like the strangest stuff that you wouldn't even realize was an addiction. Like for some reason over this last, since October, November, I've become obsessed with planners. And it shows up, our addictions will show up in our Instagram feed, right? Like, I realized all of a sudden that every other, like, post was a planner of some sort. And I'm like, who are these people designing all these planners? I never knew there were so many kinds of planners, right? But when we are in that mode, it's like, what can I get? And we're clicking on all those and looking. We're going through and looking at all those things. I might even have a couple of planners for 2021 that I haven't even put to use yet. He's like, yeah, I know. But there's other things we can be addicted to getting more of in our life, getting attention, getting love, getting approval, getting power, having control. You know what? Controlling things in our environment is a way to help calm our anxiety for a minute, a hot minute, right? But we may get nuts with the controlling. Like, I'm like always reloading our dishwasher, right? Because it's got to be loaded the way I want it to be loaded, right? But on occasion, I can just be like, just walk away, Deanna. Listen to the glasses all clank together, but just walk away. That's all right. Okay? But the thing is that, okay, what can I get to win? What can I get to be the most important? To be the most loved? To be the favorite? What is it that I can get? Okay, I got all this stuff. Woo! And then what again? What do? We have to start over. Okay, I'll look at one more planner. Look at one more planner. Okay, so that's what we're doing. Remember, no change here means no change out there. The shadow puts us out of integrity, and we can actually be really irrational in this shadow. It turns us into someone we are not. Okay, I don't know if you remember this thing that happened last year, 10 or 11 and a half months ago. Collectively, we really experienced the shadow of not enough here in our country, I think probably around the world, but I don't know. I remember that day getting my hair done, and my hairdresser says, yeah, did you know there's a run on toilet paper? Yeah. I'm like, that's unreasonable. That's crazy. Why would there be a run on toilet paper? Because of the shadow, the uncertainty, the fear about the coming pandemic. And then somebody heard, yeah, somebody's going and buying all the toilet paper. So they thought, okay, I better go buy all the toilet paper too. So instead of people just buying their normal amount of toilet paper, suddenly there wasn't enough. And even having 3 months worth of toilet paper was not enough. So we went through this collectively. Our country is under the shadow of not enough right now. And I can remember, like, I went to the grocery store probably days after that. By then the toilet paper was all gone. But you saw people putting the most interesting things in their carts. There was no more rice, no more noodles, no more peanut butter. So people would have like 15 cans of olives, 8 cake mixes, just stuff like that. I was buying soup. That's what I was stocking up on. It's like, soup, it keeps, right? Like, I got stuck in that too. I was like, if I have 45 cans of soup, I'll feel better. I couldn't carry 45 cans of soup, so I think I got like 10 cans. But anyway, it just made me feel better, and I think we still have all that soup, probably. But we go into that shadow because of the uncertainty, and then feeling the fear, and then we hear one person say, somebody's buying up all your stuff. Because we're already in fear and uncertainty. Somebody's buying up all your stuff. I remember thinking when somebody would get into the store ahead of me, that person's going to get my toilet paper. Person's going to get my stuff. Actually, I was okay through the pandemic because they never ran short on coffee anywhere. There was always coffee creamer. All right? So there is a shadow of greed that is resting over our country, and it's been here actually a long time. Look what corporations will do for greed. This is why our beloved whistleblowers' lives are all in danger, right? It's a cultural thing. Where's my stuff? What about Black Friday? Black Friday. I don't go shopping on Black Fridays, but you know what? Somebody can go to Black Friday and there's one 6-foot TV on the shelf left for $200. They didn't even go there for a TV, but it's the last one. Somebody might get it, right? Yeah. Oh, and it doesn't help that our media, right, promotes this not having enough. I still remember a TV commercial, and Queen, the band Queen, it was their song, I want it all, I want it all, I want it all, and I want it now. I was like, don't work for it, don't save for it, we just want it all right now. Now this kind of, being in this space of the shadow, there's just no reasoning with it. There's no reasoning with it. If we can't get all of our toilet paper, we're going to buy tons of soup. When we are in this shadow, we'll mistrust other people because they might be coming for our stuff. They might be coming for our stuff. In this shadow, we're not paying attention to any of our gifts. But we're sure going to notice the gifts that other people bring because it might take attention away from us. What if their gift is better? What if they're smarter? So we'll feel threatened and we'll feel justified. And then this is when we start seeing things as outside of the divine. Okay, so there's reverence. God is all things, and that means me, and that means everybody I know. Well, except for that one gal who plays guitar really well, better than me. You know, I'm mad at her. Okay. God is all things. This is a very painful shadow because it's the shadow of isolation. It's the shadow of isolation. We can't trust others. We cannot trust ourselves. We are always seeking that thing that will bring us some understanding of ourselves, that will bring us that feeling of wholeness or peace, even if it's just momentarily. Even if it's only those few minutes while I'm actually eating the cupcake, right? I'll have that peace for just a little bit. I'll forget my troubles for just a little bit. The grace that heals this shadow, that fills this shadow with light, is the grace of piety. Piety is traditionally defined as devotion. So we have reverence for all of life. We see God in all of life. Then we practice devotion to that, to committing to keep seeing it, committing to remind ourselves to focus on that. And devotion may be practiced as prayer. Right? Praying for others, praying for somebody that you see just walking down the street. Maybe there's something about them that draws out a little bit of compassion, so you just send a prayer or a blessing their way. Practicing mercy and compassion. This may be a way we share devotion. But the deeper meaning of piety is seeing God as activity everywhere, in all things. And this is to see that God is in constant creation. Constant creation. There's always something unfolding in the natural world. There are the ebbs and the flows, right? There are the cycles. The trees don't always seem to be springing forth with life. They go to sleep for a little while in the fall and just take a rest. But God is still always active, always in motion in our lives. God is busy in all the details. Now, constant creation means there's an infinite supply. Infinite supply. If God's in constant creation, there's this energy's constantly moving from one form into another. God is all things. Everything is in constant motion. God is in constant motion in this world, in our lives. We look at everything as an act of creation and realize we are an act of creation. Everything we do is creating the next thing we'll do. So the act of creation today, on one level, may be what we do when we leave here. Right? It's an act of creation to actually decide, do I go out for lunch and pick up something, or do we go buy Sprouts, or do we go do this thing, or do I just go home and veg in front of Netflix? So our choices move us into the next experience. It's all an act of creation. It's within this grace that we are calling forth the good and where we are creating from our soul. So when we're creating from our soul, we're calling forth through us the next brightest thing, the best thing, for the good of all people. We're celebrating our gifts and our talents. We're putting them out into the world. In this grace, we uphold that our life and what we have to give is sacred. It's sacred. Then we naturally make choices that honor our divine nature, but also honor the divine nature in everybody, in all people. We are naturally making choices that are to the light. Okay, to bring more good into this world. We also recognize and honor that other people are also in constant creation. Everybody is creating. We can uphold their life as sacred when we practice devotion and reverence. And we can celebrate their gifts and talents with them, but if they're not in a place yet where they can celebrate their own gifts and talents and share those with the world, even if they're not creating good in this world right now, maybe they're lost in their own shadow. Because we're holding their life as sacred, we see their light and we honor their timeline. Not everybody is ready to jump into that next big thing, right? When, you know, you can want to work on something, but you don't really start doing the work until you're ready. It doesn't matter what other people tell you to do. I promise it'll feel good if you read the 4 agreements, right? That's like what I love to tell people. Read the 4 agreements. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Okay. We honor their timeline. That's a big, big thing. We honor their timeline. This is accepting them right where they are. We know always that the force that put the galaxies into their spin is also at work in everybody we know. Because of that power that works through us, the power that created the universes, what can be done through us is only limited by our imagination. So it's good to remember God is all things and the activity is in motion all the time. God is moving through our lives all the time. Show me, God, what am I going to do with this? What should I do with this? Use me. Use me, God. How best can I serve? How best can I serve? How can I carry as much light as possible while I'm in this body? How can I carry as much light as possible today? And what can I do today to expand how much light I can carry tomorrow? This is how we create change in here, that we anchor in the world around us. We hold to the higher ground that nothing exists outside of the all. All right, so there's this book in the Bible, Peter, and it is considered one of the most beautiful books, 1 Peter. And Peter says this in chapter 4, "But the end of all things is at hand. Be devout, therefore, and be mindful of prayer. And above all else, have fervent love toward one another, because love covers a multitude of sins. Be hospitable to strangers, without grudging. So let every one of you, according to the gifts he has received from God, minister the same to your fellow man, like good stewards of the manifold grace of God." So I had a lot of fun breaking this down. Okay, in the end, but the end of all things is at hand, right? I know we were saying that last year, and then that translated into, we are experiencing a planetary recalibration. We are going through spiritual evolution is what's happening right now. It's the end of the old is at hand. And that might be what Peter meant back in his day, because they went through a spiritual evolution also. Okay, so the end of all things is at hand. It's not really, things aren't going to hell. We're in a planetary recalibration. Be devout, therefore, and be mindful of prayer. Prayer is what we do to call forth the graces. Carolyn Mace shares a story on one of her programs where she had a big workshop and she wanted to walk them through a prayer. And somebody in the workshop said, "I didn't come here to pray." Prayer is how we align. Now, I know in the spiritual community, sometimes it's like, no, I want to do something more proactive. I want to do my affirmations. But praying is what we do to call forth all the graces. This is where we go to ask and receive. And it's how we participate with life. It is a conversation between, if you want to call it God, Mother, Father, God, Source, Universe, your soul, friend. Like I've been working with that one lately, dear friend. Felt like it's kind of in the middle between, I see Mother, Father, God is like all of it. Friend is like in that higher dimension, but close to me, more intimate. All right, so we're participating with life when we connect to that higher aspect of ourselves. So in a prayer, when we are in our shadow, prayer might look like, "Dear God, where is my stuff? Where's my stuff, dear God? Dear God, please don't let this one candidate win the presidency. Dear God, please let this guy who cut me off get a flat tire." Right? We're asking for stuff. But see, that's praying to an outside God. The God outside, the daddy God, the Santa Claus God, right? And that's not God. If we direct the well-being of ourselves and our life to something way outside of us, it has the power to either make us happy or ruin our life then. The power is within here. We're going within here. Dear friend, dear Mother, Father, God. This is the way we go into the laboratory of our soul. It's how we go into the laboratory of our soul. Show me the truth. Show me the truth. Give me strong back, soft front, warrior heart. This is the prayers that we say from our soul. How can I serve? Give me the courage to trust and act on guidance and share my gifts and talents with the world. Help me be the person. Change me into that person that gives wholeheartedly and loves with wild abandon. That's prayer. That is participation. I am ready to become this person, like this next brightest version of myself. I'm ready to step into that now. Show me how. Show me how. Give me some insight. Give me an idea. And then, speak to me like I'm 4 years old. Right? That is participating. Peter goes on to say again, and above all things, have fervent love toward one another. Fervent love toward others is when we love with our heart, our soul, our mind, and our spirit. Okay, we work at it. We have to be committed. It's a commitment. And it's to stay focused on their light instead of their behavior. Okay, remember, we're honoring their timeline. We honor their timeline. They are where they are. We live as an example. We're not the authoritarian figure in their life. We're just an example for them. And as long as we accept them where they are, they're more likely to see us and feel safe around us. Because love covers a multitude of sins. You know, I first learned that sin meant mistake. I learned that through the Course in Miracles, actually. Sin is a mistake. And it's not a mistake like, oops, I put oregano in my coffee instead of cinnamon. It's not that kind of mistake. It's the mistake that we make when we act out of the pain of our shadow, right? And we're failing to honor the sacred. Be hospitable with strangers. Be hospitable to strangers without grudging. Again, to see their light, to see that the activity of God is moving through them no matter what they're doing. The more that we keep choosing to see God in the activity of people and conditions, the more that changes us too. And the greater force for good that makes us. So let every one of you, according to the gift he has received from God, your gift, you are a grace generator. You bring a unique light into this world. You bring a unique grace into this world. It's needed right now. Or you'd be watching this as a show from heaven right now. You'd be like, yeah, they didn't need my grace right this minute, so I'm just going to watch and see what's going on. It's needed right now. That's why you're here. Minister the same to your fellow men, like good stewards of the manifold grace of God. We are stewards of love, compassion, forgiveness. You have a multitude of gifts, but without reverence and piety, you won't honor those gifts. You won't share those gifts with the world. So we're stepping into reverence and piety. You're here to share the light. You're here to direct the power of your soul to make the most empowered choices that you can for yourself, and then to make the most loving, empowered choices that you can for other people too. So we do what we can to serve. We call forth the graces. We bring the light. We show up as a Jedi in this game. We see all of life as sacred. Everyone is a holy partner. And that's how we create heaven on earth. So until next time, remember, you are the activity of spirit and a body. You are the heart and the hands of spirit in this world. You are a soul designed for growth and goodness. You are a soul designed to do all of this stuff. In everything you do, you are blessed. And so it is.
So it is.
So it is. All right, Unity Band.